The ocean was like a vice, but he was coming up for air. It was pressing against his body, the weight of the sea forcing him to rise with the propulsion of a torpedo. Everything was murky and dim, but then Lee saw it, there, the spinning beam of the lighthouse breaking on the surface of the water above. Just as he was about to surface, he felt his arms move. He had control. He forced himself to surface, took a breath, and opened his eyes. Lee tried to talk, but he couldn't speak. He was trembling severely in both legs. He recognized the face in front of him, but he couldn't recall the name. The light was blinding, awful, blinding, so blinding that he couldn't see. He felt he would never adjust to it.
"Potions and elixirs for our weary travelers,"
a voice said jovially. He doesn't look good, Harris. Fuck, seriously, get him off his feet, alright? Lee was weightless now, weightless at the mercy of whoever came to take him. He tried to grab the young woman's wrist. He had touched her, and they would find her.
"Do not fear, weary traveller, knowest thou Potion Master is here, endowed with remedies for such maladies and ills."
Lee was vaguely aware of being helped out of the diving suit and down onto a chair. "Harris," he said with warmth, as he recognized the geeky, jaunty manner of the man helping him.
"That's my name, don't wear it out."
Like that's a thing. What's going on? I feel terrible. Give him some meds or something, will ya? Gong said.
"Patience is a virtue, and there is none more virtuous than I,"
Harris said. Lee felt his head being held back by the cold touch of an android. They had never got the body heat right. He swallowed a warm, syrupy drink and 2 pills straight after. "We got her, didn't we?" Lee said, feeling his pulse and trying to compose himself. "I got her. I touched her. I made contact."
"We know, old boy," Harris said, "and I have my minions running a trace. The captain is on it as we speak, but I think a bed rest for our adventure is the priority now."
"I'm going out there at least," Gong said. "This is our case. One of us should be there." "I'm going too," Lee said huskily, feeling his head, his hair, the recent change in length unfamiliar like a fresh cut he could not recall having. Everything was beginning to settle and stick. He looked around him and really felt a sensation of gravity and the slight warmth of the room. He realized now there was something imperfect in the Glade. The temperature and the pressure of the atmosphere was slightly different. They had made it a little too comfortable, warmer, too gentle. Perhaps only by diving in and out so suddenly could one tell. But there was a floating nothingness down there. An artificial background to the very invisible but permanent effects of real waking life. Harris pulled up at his console next to Lee and brought up a 3D document. "You look like you saw a ghost,
then swallowed it,"
he said.
"A little tender for getting back on the streets, methinks, my friend."
"We switched on the dive. During the transition," Lee said. "Your time meds, that chronosine worked, but it had some side effects." "What do you mean?" Harris asked seriously. "Gong, when you dived, during the transition, what did you see?" "Yeah, shit, he's right. I had his lighthouse dream, dived into the sea. Had to swim up out of it to get back. Weren't a bad change from the cult bus, to be honest."
"Yeah, thanks for that," Lee said. "Fucking harrowing." "Interesting. Very interesting,"
Harris said in an accent Lee couldn't even guess at. Harris swiveled over to another nest of his consoles and began flicking madly through several projections.
"Maybe the chronosine, not dosage, but I can see the trace, and relativity and subjective perception included, kind of objectively superfluous, but
how long did it feel like down there?" "Longer than an hour, definitely," Lee said. "Yeah, it must have been," Gong said. "We had an hour for that event. It was on a train. Had to find a captor, damsel in distress. You're right about that role-playing shit down there, Harris. They're mad into it."
"Yeah, they had these ridiculous characters,"
Lee said, trying to pry back through the memories, though they seemed dimmer than after the first dive, fainter even than dreams.
"Like in a comic book or something, like over-the-top names, superhero powers." "Sounds scrumptious," Harris said, licking his lips. "Sign this guy up."
"Harris, you'd be the fucking cosplay king."
"We took the other teams out, one by one," Lee said. "Some of them definitely had real powers or something, and the doctor had a robot sidekick. Not like a real android, more like an impression of a robot before we actually built them right."
Harris looked hypnotized by their recollections, ignoring the data swirling around him.
"Uh-oh, boss is on the line. This is Harris, or should I say, yay, this is he."
He synchronized their feeds with the captain's avatar and shared the communication link between them. "Good work, detectives. We've ran the trace on the woman you found. We have her digital ID and location." "Was it Joy Gray?" Lee asked intently. "No," the captain said.
Lee exhaled and felt a wave of disappointment. But the woman you found was reported missing a month ago, the captain said. Lee pulled himself upright with a rush of blood to the head.
Fuck, Gong said. We got something.
Oh yes, detectives, you got more than just something, the captain said. This might be the lead that breaks the case. And it gets even better.
What?
Gong asked. The location we traced the missing woman's ID to is under a warehouse owned by one of Ruby Shu's holding companies.
How long until you go in?
Gong asked. We're going in now, the captain said. I'm going to be there personally. We're bringing in heavy support units, and I want you two both there with me. This is just the opportunity this precinct needs. If we prove that women are being captured and forced into some sick VR game, it's going to be the biggest story in years. And we aren't going to have any more funding issues for dives, I promise you that. You two earned this. I want you there. Even looking as rough as you do, I must say you do look quite awful, by the way, Detective Lee.
You haven't dreamed what I have,
Lee said quietly. Spare the poetry for your memoirs. You're both going to be heroes by the end of the week, and I want nothing but stoicism and professional grace. If this bust goes right and we bring in the missing girl, this could be the start of something. A whole new wave of legislation, maybe funding for a new department focused solely on dream crime. We're going to be on the ground floor for this. I could see you as captain before the end of the year, Detective Lee, and you want a bonus for that retirement, Gong? I'll see the commissioner signs off on it himself.
Just gotta bring the poor damsels in, this time for real,
Gong said. I've sent an air cruiser over, the captain said. It'll be there in less than 5 minutes. Harris, I need you to back up all pertinent data from the case so far, specifically relating to kidnapping and illegal activity in the Glade. We might be able to uncover something big, detectives. There's going to be press there. Look, they know you're straight from a case, so it's understandable if you're looking tired and hard-pressed. Shows what you've been through on the job. But I want your uniform straight, badges on your chest, and heads held high. Let's make this moment count, and let's bring the girl home.
Yes, Captain,
Lee said.
Absolutely,
Gong said. The captain turned to talk to someone else and the projection disappeared.
Looks like you're invited, pretty boy, eh? Even in pieces,
Gong said to Lee.
Just hope we can wrap this up,
Lee said.
Don't think my head can take another round. I was just getting a taste for it. Shame the Glade is out of my price range still. Sure I'll find somewhere suitable to retire.
Alright, coppers, back in the field and no time to waste, Harris said. He turned back to his console and started muttering.
Funny how they still call this paperwork, isn't it? Never even seen a piece of paper. I heard it cuts your hand. Paper cut is about the sum of your fears, ain't it, Harris? Probably the most dangerous thing you guys have to deal with down here.
Gong said, stretching his neck and checking his uniform.
Ugh, you ever heard of a paper tiger? Keeps me up at night.
I don't think that's what you think it is.
Come on, let's get out of this dungeon,
Gong said, putting out a hand for Lee. Lee felt slightly better as he stood upright. He was exhausted, but his head was clearer.
This could be it, couldn't it?
Lee said.
We might have solved it. Joy Grey could be there, under that warehouse. Who knows how many others? Could be a whole stash of hidden pods. That woman I saw down there, she was real. I know it. Ain't gonna know for sure till we get there,
Gong said.
How you doing, mate, really?
He asked quietly, as they stepped away from Harris and began to head through the VR facility to the landing pad. I've been better, but I'm alright.
Good,
Gong said.
'Cause it's time to bury this.
They came out into the stark winter sunlight as an aircruiser pummeled the air with beams of fire and fury, driving back the cold hovering above the landing pad. Lee rubbed his hands as they got inside and were blasted by the heating. Gong looked tired but determined. Lee felt the sensation of normality returning. Perhaps it was not so different from waking from a dream. He had delved into stranger depths in his own mind. And maybe this was over, and that was the last dive, and everything really would work out as they had intended. They couldn't see much beyond the vague blur of the cityscape and the glowing exhaust of the nearby air traffic. They nosedived away from the sprawling outskirts and towards the mountains. Cutting into clouds, condensation formed and broke and melted on the glass, the occasional gust of wind slamming them.
Here it is,
Gong said.
There's the trace.
He flicked at the air and brought up the thermal feed. It showed a large industrial estate and warehouses connected to automated delivery tracks.
Hey, see that there?
Gong said. He brought up a projected scan of body-shaped heat markers under the largest warehouse.
Alright, let's get some IDs,
Lee said and went to his feed, but the estate was surrounded by a firewall.
Ain't gonna be that easy,
Gong said.
Gonna have to prime out the pods ourselves, dream crime midwives.
The aircruiser dipped, and they broke through the clouds into a sudden flurry of snow. The blizzard had erupted out of nowhere. Some automated vehicles moved aside as they landed by a crate in the mass transit sending deliveries towards the city. Industrial machinery like skeletal ruins sprang from the freezing fog. Another aircruiser landed alongside them. A giant amber light began spinning as the warehouse doors parted. Gong and Lee flicked one contact to thermal vision and took out their rifles.
The doors to the other aircruiser opened. The captain stepped out from the aircruiser. 2 destroyer units stepped down next to her. "Let's get inside," the captain said, her voice spoken directly into Lee's earpiece. Li and Gong, their rifles held high, ducked and followed her through the roar of machinery towards the warehouse. They all stopped to take a breath and wipe the snow from their uniforms. "The media should be here any minute," the captain said. "How are you two doing?" "I'm doing all right," Li said. "Never better," Gong said. The captain began flicking at the air, bringing up the thermal scan on her feed. 6 bodies. Must be in the pods, somewhere into the northwest corner, she said. "Let's start looking around for some kind of basement door or something. No reason to think it's too closely hidden. And keep those rifles raised. Andromeda 1, she said to the first destroyer unit. "Cover Detective Gong and Lee. First priority is their safety. You have authority to shoot to kill if the officers' lives are threatened."
"Understood,"
the unit responded in a deathly, iron voice. Just as they were about to head past the stores of goods, the warehouse doors creaked further open. The captain turned to see who had come through. Her stern, commanding face looked severe. "Must be the media," she said, flattening out her uniform. "I'll take care of this. Detectives, continue to follow the heat signals." As the warehouse doors widened, they saw a luxury air car. Ruby Sue and several private security androids stepped out from the car. "What is this?" the captain said, taken aback. Lee saw her touch her earpiece, putting through an emergency call. Lee and Gong had their rifles primed and ready. Lee looked around to see if there was another way out, but they were backed into the warehouse.
"Oh, no need for a scene, I'm sure, Captain Wren, please,"
Ruby Sue said, stepping closer to them. "If you've come to turn yourself in, I appreciate it," the captain said.
Turn myself in for what?"
Ruby Sue said, and gave a high-pitched giggle. "As the proprietor of the Electric Glade and this Phrenic Industries warehouse, you are under arrest for the abduction of a citizen against their will into a VR domain," the captain said. "We have sufficient evidence to take you into custody. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law."
"Oh, there must be some misunderstanding. I didn't come here to be arrested. I came here to be congratulated,"
Ruby Sue said. "What are you talking about?" the captain said, the police destroyer unit staring down Ruby Sue's private security.
Didn't you send for the press?"
Ruby asked.
Who do you think runs the charities that were trying to find these poor souls and take them back to their families? It was to my utmost horror that I discovered these facilities under the umbrella of my proprietorship were linked to such nefarious activity, you know. Many of the lost young things that crawl away to the underground think only of escape. They don't think of the damage they leave behind, nor what they might end up getting into. I'm here to help take these young women home and find out what horrible people forced them to partake in unauthorized activities in my domain.
"I'm putting you under arrest," the captain said. "And if one of those androids tries to stop me, I'll shoot you myself."
"That's hardly proper conduct for an officer of the law,"
Ruby said, and laughed again with a little squeal.
"I'll have to make a note of this threatening behavior to your lieutenant. Oh, here he is now."
Ruby Sue turned as the lieutenant of the Dreamkind precinct, nearly 2 meters tall in a black and silver uniform, strode through the warehouse doors. His contacts were grafted into the sunglasses fixed permanently in place over his eyes like dark obsidian slate. "Thank you so much for your assistance in finding this place, Miss Sue," the lieutenant said, the synthetic upgrades in his voice box trembling. "We have medical staff joining us shortly. The young woman will be taken to the best hospital in the city."
"What is this?"
Gong asked. "Detective Gong," the lieutenant said, his trench coat dripping melting ice onto the floor. "You are off the case."
"What are you talking about?"
Gong said, his rifle still raised.
"Lower that weapon, officer, or I'll have the mechs melt you down like solder."
The 2 destroyer units trod past them and joined the lieutenant and Ruby Sue.
"All right. This is how it's gonna end, yeah? 35 fucking years of scraping the dirt from the city underbelly for you, and this is how it ends. Take it, I'm done," he said, and threw his badge onto the floor in front of the lieutenant and went to take a cigarette from his pocket.
"No, I'm afraid you are not,"
the lieutenant said.
"Officer Gong, you are coming in."
One of the androids stepped forward and bent Gong's arm behind his back. It forced his head down and marched him out of the warehouse. Ruby Sue watched him, smiling. "This is unbelievable," the captain said. "There's some big misunderstanding here. Lieutenant, we traced the victim here by means of an investigation I've overseen from the start. We have strong evidence that captives are being forced into Ruby Sue's domain against their will. We haven't even begun to investigate them for what they're doing. When did Ruby Sue get in contact with you? Not before the last hour. We have our entire case feed on file. We can account for every aspect of the evidence. So, with all due respect, she must have been tipped off that we had a trace and tried to get here before us. This is obviously a ruse.
Monsieur is one of the most gracious and generous citizens in the city,
the lieutenant said.
It was her donation that allowed that diving facility of yours to be built. I hardly think she is spending her nights kidnapping people and locking them up under her business ventures. Is that really what you are asserting?
We have evidence of something, Lee said. We'll go over your head, straight to the commissioner. Everything's backed up, like you've been bought and paid for, yeah? Is that it? Keep out of this, detective, the captain said.
Actually, I have business with you too, Detective Lee,
the lieutenant said.
I have disturbing reports that you claim Miss Yu came to your apartment and tried to interfere with the case. We checked and found no evidence of anything that you asserted. We do not know if this is personal or the product of some fever dream, but I suspect the dives into VR have started to compromise your mental integrity. Fracturing is occurring, we believe.
What if I do take this to the commissioner? The captain said. This case is clean. We have witnesses waiting under our feet.
Those runaways in the pods have already been accounted for by one of Miss Yu's many charities, the lieutenant said. She's had people looking for them for months. These criminals found the disused VR stations and plugged themselves in. They've been illegally using Miss Yu's domain. Usually they would be charged with illegal digital migration. Miss Yu, however, in her magnanimity, is dropping all charges.
This isn't over, the captain said.
For you and your detectives, it most certainly is, the lieutenant said. Detective Lee, I find you mentally unfit to continue working in an official capacity. You are to be put on indefinite unpaid leave. You will shortly be assigned a psychologist and will report for evaluation.
Lee felt a wave of anger and frustration wash over him, but he kept his mouth shut. Don't worry, I'm going to clear this up, the captain said to him. We're miles from the city and there's a blizzard out there. Can I at least take a car back? Lee asked.
Police resources are far too valuable, the lieutenant said. You can call a cab and wait in the snow like any other civilian.
Was the lieutenant pushing him for a response, Lee wondered? Most likely, but he wasn't going to get it. He just needed to get out of there, to get home, to get somewhere sane. Here's our first reporter, Ruby Sue said excitedly. A drone flickering with several beams of light hovered over towards them. Make sure they get footage of that animal Gong being led away, she said to the lieutenant.
We will, he said, and I've already got a brief to the commissioner. Everything will be as we discussed. Captain Wren, I think you should return to the precinct now. I'm sure the commissioner wants to talk with you, least of all about that tobacco you have been growing on your farm.
Lee walked out and into the snow, the voices fading behind him. The case file disappeared from his feed. All the police upgrades in his contacts had been blocked. He stood, flicked for a taxi, huddled, waiting in the vile, cutting wind, as more cops and androids began to file past him, red and blue lights spinning with a sickly zeal on the building snow.